Robert Irwin is the 15-year-old son of the late Steve Irwin. He has followed in the footsteps of his father in working at their family zoo, the Australian Zoo. He has also followed in Steve's passion for photography. He has had the passion for photography from a young age. He is already an award-winning photographer, well known for his wildlife photography. Robert is the leading photography contributor to the zoo's quarterly magazine. Seen here on this cover is one of Irwin's photos of a spider. He also writes editorial pieces for the magazine. It often highlights the work inside the zoo and the conservation work they do around the globe. Along with featuring his work in this magazine, he sells prints of his work online and in a gallery at the zoo. His work has also been featured in news articles and galleries across Australia. This photo of a huntsman spider beginning to eat a tree frog got Irwin a lot of recognition. He took this photograph at night and just happened to spot the spider and a frog. His image was highly commended in the 11 to 14 age category in the Wildlife Photographer of the Year competition. I think this is a classic example of Robert's work with capturing animals. They often look isolated and capture a unique moment in time. Since there is not a background, the viewer is captivated by the fight between a hunter and its prey. It captures the true nature of wildlife in that it's not always pretty, but it is a part of life. In addition to photographing animals, Robert also does nature landscapes. But unlike most of his animal photography, he often highlights the color of the landscape instead of making it black and white. But it still connects to his theme of isolation. The expansive sky filled with the image and color of the Milky Way shows how small we are in comparison to the universe. He often uses a fisheye lens to get these images, which lets him capture more of the scene around him, making the surrounding feel bigger. While not something he often focuses on in his photography, Irwin does dabble in street and architecture work. I was drawn to this image particularly because it mirrors his work with animals. The man asking for change seems isolated from everything else, even though you can see that he is in the middle of busy New York. But there is that distance from him and the other people in cars. I think Robert took this photo this way to show that we as a people neglect each other as well as the endangered animals he typically focuses on. Now back to Robert's work with animals. Seen here is a humpback whale diving into the water. And again, the animal feels isolated. I believe he chose to make this image black and white and increase the contrast to achieve this effect. It makes it seem like the whale is diving into nothingness, almost as if we may never see it again. By doing this, it makes me, as the viewer, care more about this animal and want to protect it from extinction. Finally, this is one of Robert's most famous images. It is a black and white photo of the last male northern white rhino, and again, it captures the feeling of isolation. It is taken from a lower angle, making the animal feel larger. It is also taken in harsh lighting, emphasizing the shadows, making the animal seem old, as it actually was at the age of 45. And the background of a pretty barren field increases the feeling of the animal being alone, which in this case of this specific rhino, Sedan, he was completely alone. Robert said in an interview that this is one of his favorite pictures he has captured because he was the last hope for this rhino species. Robert has also said, "Photography is a great tool to inspire others about issues facing our planet today, as each image tells a story about the subject. It is also a way to showcase magnificent creatures in places that many people will not get the opportunity to see, and therefore inspire others to want to conserve our precious wildlife." This is why I chose him as the photographer to focus on, because he shares the same belief that I have of protecting nature, and he shares this belief with his amazing photography skills.